Start out with this Ranger. Saw this cool color sitting here. Got to see the sticker on this Ranger. It's a 24 Ranger, 45,735. Really like the color. Pretty nice looking. I'm actually gonna take a look underneath this thing. It's an XLT, so it's, you know, compare that to the Tacomas and everything that I was looking at. Give you an idea of what she looks like. Pretty open. The departure angle on this probably kind of similar to that Tacoma, honestly. The exhaust pipes kind of moved back a little bit. I think the Chevy Colorado and Frontier and those were doing a little better job, but there's a look underneath. Give you an idea of the frame. Frame's pretty beefy. Cross member, although there's a big gap between the back and, you know. Drive lines, I don't like that like double jointed drive line. That kind of looks a little goofy. Probably going to be maintenance with that little U-joint in there. They do have a plate under this differential or the transfer case. You go up to the front and they do have skid plates. Imagine that. They've got some skid plates under here, just to give you an idea of what the underneath side of this Ranger looks like. The transmission almost looks like a plastic pan, but hopefully it's not. And they got the metal skid plates up there. So, and of course this is just the XLT. Gonna give you some sense of what it looks like. Aluminum. Everything's going aluminum. I was watching some people talk about, I will say, check this out on the Ranger. You got plastic up here on the bumper, but right here, metal. So that's the first vehicle, I think that's the first time I've seen the actual mid-size trucks have a metal skid plate underneath, so that's good. Take a peek inside this XLT. Everything feels pretty, kind of that hard plastic feel on it. Nice little tray here, huge screen in the center. Kind of reminds me of when Dodge first came out with that. Really nice looking. How's it going?
Hey, jumping in here real quick. Just wanted to talk after I took this video on some of the things that happened. Getting kicked out of this Ranger was kind of interesting by the dealership. Understandable, though. I thought it was nice of him. He came out and asked what I was doing, and of course I had the camera, and I told him I was making YouTube videos and asked him if I could go video the rest of the dealership, which I did, and they said, yeah, no problem. Just they just didn't want the new customer to come and find me rooting around their brand new truck, so it's completely understandable. I got kicked out, so that's why the video was cut a little short. This two-piece drive shaft, I really didn't like it, so let's get into kind of what I did and didn't like just off the cuff, but I didn't get to drive it or anything. This was a customer vehicle. And you can see this here. Transfer case has a nice skid plate underneath, which is always good to see. I only saw that maybe on the Chevy Colorado and the GMC Canyon. Didn't see it on any of the other mid-sized trucks I've looked at. So having a skid plate here is nice to have. Pretty beefy frame, but on the thin side in some of these holes, but all of the manufacturers nowadays are actually reducing the gauge steel in certain areas. They're fully boxing it, but they're reducing the gauge, so it kind of looks beefier, but the thickness is a little less, so you can decide if that's better or not. Here's what I didn't like. They have this 2-piece drive shaft. When I looked online, I was like, man, I wonder if this is causing problems because I didn't see this style of drive shaft on the other midsize. And so I went spelunking on Google and found this on the Ranger5G.com drive shaft phasing. And this is kind of what I expected, people talking about. Slight vibration and droning at highway speed seems to be between 55 and 65 miles an hour. Who knows? Maybe the drive shaft may not be, maybe something else, but it looks like some folks are having issues with that, but it didn't look like a lot. So I would imagine, I don't see TSBs on this, so I don't think it's a widespread problem. I just don't personally like the design. It's just my opinion. And moving on up to the front, this is that cross member. And then it does have 2 extra supports, you know, kind of angled like a V towards the front. So that looks fairly rigid. It doesn't look as thick as like the Frontiers was just massive right here. But I do like these added extra little braces. I think that would help with twisting and just body roll stuff. Control arm's aluminum, and this big casting over here for the knuckle is aluminum as well. You know, this aluminum, when you have aluminum arms, aluminum knuckles and everything together with then a steel bearing, and that, you know, you get 150,000 miles. Sometimes those differing metals will fuse together and they're like welded together by the time you have to replace that wheel bearing. That doesn't look super big, you know, the casting on it for a truck. I mean, I see castings like this size on my son's Volkswagen Jetta, so aluminum's got to be a little bit bigger cast to be as strong as steel. I did like this on the Ranger. You know, this is all metal right here. I didn't see one other midsize, especially kind of in that middle range like the XLT is. I didn't see one other one with a big metal skid plate, and it really covers this whole entire area. It's really well done. It's not just like a front little tiny piece there. And then they do have an extra metal under the differential as well. Let me know what you think of the new XLT Ranger underneath and just kind of the brief interior on it. Do you think that this looked better, worse, the same as the new Tacoma Colorado Frontier when I did videos underneath on those? Love to hear what people say about all this aluminum everything underneath. Some trucks are doing aluminum everywhere, and the control arms and the knuckles, but yeah, it's just, that's the direction the market's going. So I guess we're going to have to get used to it. Anyway, until next time, thanks for watching.